Welcome back today again to the Master Coaches Wednesday Weekly Buzz. I'm Bob Bertucci, and I'm joined here with fellow Master Coach Mick Haley, and we have a different show for you today. Our plan was actually to interview Kevin Wong of League One, but unfortunately they declined for the second time to be on the show. But we're very excited that Pro Volleyball Federation co-founder Dave Whinham decided to come on today and join us and fill up our time slot. And Dave, thank you very much for doing that for us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate being asked back. Had a great time last time. And for everyone watching live and those who are going to watch this later recorded, what you don't know, what you haven't seen behind the scenes during that intro, that really catchy intro song, is that's actually Bob on bass and Mick on guitar. So maybe we can, at the end of the show, get them to do the whole song.
Yeah, we're lucky we're able to get on this show and do the technology to do that. Never mind play an instrument while we're doing it.
That's a pretty rocket intro there, Coach. I got to tell you.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Well, Dave, what we're going to do is let me first tell you what the topic was supposed to be. And it's really apropos right now. Maybe it scared them away. It was, is there still love for love volleyball? And that was what our question was, or our topic coming into the show, because we've heard so many different things and so many conflicting views. We just wanted to give League One an opportunity to have one of their representatives on to talk a little bit about their program. So what we're going to do, if it's okay with you, is going to ask you the same questions. I know you haven't been prepared for this at all, but ask you the same questions that we were going to ask League One. And sure. And some of these, when you were on once before, some of these questions you already answered. So we'll, for example, this first question, we were going to ask Kevin Wong, just tell us how Peter Hirschman and him came up with the idea of League One. Mm-hmm. How about you tell us how you came up with PVF?
Sure. And I can tell you, I'm certainly no expert on whatever it is that League One is doing. And hopefully someday you'll get them to come on and answer your questions. But I am an expert, as I told you last time, on two things. One is Pro Volleyball Federation, and the other is my opinion, and I'm happy to share both things with you today. The way we got started with professional women's volleyball is my founding partner in the league, Stephen Evans, have been in the sports and entertainment business. Actually, we opened our company, the Team Management, 23 years ago. And our company does four things. We manage M&A transactions for pro sports teams and other sports and entertainment companies. That is to say, we put buyers and sellers of sports teams together and other sports and entertainment properties. We do a lot of adjacent consulting, advisory, and management work, from full-scale management to assignment-based management, and a lot of those types of assignments that aren't necessarily attached to transactions we've managed. We, in our 23 years, have produced well over 2,000 ticketed events, lots of music, lots of comedy, but primarily arena sports, and just about anything that you can buy a ticket to. And we produce media, live sports for television and streaming, officially licensed NCAA documentary, feature-length documentary films, original sports-related television pilots. So when you're in the business that we're in, you get well acquainted with those who broadcast those types of events. And I have to say that Stephen Evans and I have had our eye on women's volleyball as a pro sport for at least half the time we've worked together, which is 23 years under the flag of the team and a couple of years before that. So it got to a point, quite frankly, guys, that it was something we knew we were going to do. It was just a matter of when. Well, friends at ESPN, at the Big Ten Network, at the what is now known as the Bally Regional Sports Platform, all reported to us 3 or so years ago that women's Division I NCAA volleyball had had climbed to the third most viewed college sport they were televising. And that's significant. I mean, they had to, over just the last 10 years alone, they had to pass some really great sports to become the third most viewed college sport on the air of those great networks, only behind football and men's basketball. So we knew the time was right, and we got to work on it.
Well, that's great. And one of the other things that we were going to talk to League One about was they had, Kevin and Peter, when they had their, whatever their real story was, and in forming their organization, found Caitlin Gow, who was a chief executive officer, or at least heavily involved in Lululemon, and an executive in her own right. But you've also found Jen Spiker.
Yeah.
And a great businesswoman who has some roots in volleyball. So, in fact, actually, I had promised Jen that if we did ever get, Volleyball One to come on, we would have you guys on next. Well, maybe you guys will come on now, and they'll realize if they have the answers to some of these questions, they'll come on next week. But tell us a little bit about Jen Spiker and why you brought her on as a chief executive officer.
Well, what took place was over the past year, Stephen and I, or really more than past year, probably the last 18 months or so, Stephen and I were working on a daily basis to create Pro Volleyball Federation. And we knew it was going to be all about the women that we were able to bring in to both be the product, be the players and many of the coaches, and to provide both the volleyball and business expertise required. I've had a long-standing professional and friendship relationship with Jen Spiker dating back to the early 90s when we were both at Wayne State University. I was young once, and when I was young, I was a football coach at Wayne State and Grand Valley State, University of Cincinnati, and many stops in arena football, where I kind of got my start in the business of sports and entertainment. And Jen was at that time, still working on her undergrad. She was a volleyball player at Wayne State and the secretary for the football office. And, she went on to have an outstanding business career. And she was the first and only person that I looked to lead this company. And we named her CEO about a year ago, I guess it's been. And I think I knocked her over. I could have knocked her over with a feather when I called because, she didn't see this coming, and she and I hadn't spoken in quite some time. But then she has attracted, Dr. Cecile Reynaud. There's nobody better to serve as our vice president of volleyball operations. Lori Corbelli, who herself is a Hall of Famer. And then you look at some of the other women that have helped us build. We're up to already, we're many months away from our first serve. But Jenna Rosenthal, Morgan Hentz, Tori Dilfer, Ronica Stone, Kenzie Mahoney, and we're about to announce another one, have been on board to help us attract some of the greatest players in America and from around the country. And Jen put together a very comprehensive marketing plan to attract those players and coaches, and man, has it been effective. And y'all know as well as anybody, the coaches that we've attracted are world-class Hall of Fame coaches. And, we're attracting the best, and we intend not only to be the best volleyball league in America, not only to be the premier women's professional league in North America. Our goal is to be the best professional volleyball league in the world. And there's a lot of places where they've been playing pro volleyball for decades, a very, very long time. But we think we have the talent and the resources to make that happen. And it won't happen in day one, but that's our goal.
Well, I mean, Jen is a volleyball player in her own right. Mm-hmm. And that's a positive thing, and coach. And, and of course, Cecile Renaud is a good friend of both myself and Mick. And we've known her for years. And I think you do have some great people involved, in the organization. how about my next question for League One was, what is their vision? Because we're not sure what their vision is. Why don't you tell us what PVF's vision is?
I think I just alluded to it, is to, create the premier women's professional sports league in North America, ultimately the greatest volleyball league in the world. Those are our goals, but we want to do it via a very specific track where we are creating the domestic horizon for these great American volleyball players and coaches to aspire to. And that's what we've done. What we've done is groundbreaking. We've already sold, and we talked about this last time. We try and allow each and every one of our cities to have their day in the sun and their announcement, but we've sold 10 teams already in a 9-month period since we announced this league. That hasn't been done by any pro league. There have been single entity leagues that have brought in different numbers of teams, but we have very well qualified, well-funded, properly focused independent ownership groups that take both the not only the financial wherewithal of this league, but also as it relates on the league side and each team with specific level of management expertise that differentiates us from just about every startup league that there's ever been anywhere.
Well, Mick, did you hear
Bob,
something?
can I jump in here?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was waiting for you because I think Dave just said something I'm sure you're going to want to ask about. So go ahead.
Yeah, we seem to be having some trouble here with the internet, but Dave, can you hear me all right?
I hear you loud and clear. I'm sorry if I'm breaking up.
No, it's okay. It happens every once in a while. We can't control this. So, but I have, from what you've said there, I want to make sure I understand it. So one of the things we're really going to delve into with League One is they seem to be a 3-pronged organization. And we're trying to understand those 3 prongs. One was a pro league. One was to identify and strengthen, I think, junior club to the pro league, or in other words, develop cities through clubs and that sort of thing. And the third was a fundraising arm, of which they've announced they've raised something like $65 million. We've tried to track that. We can get up to 55 or 57 million, but we haven't been able to find the rest of that. I'm just not sure what they're doing, but do you have any relationships with club or with outside kinds of developments to help the league? And I think, if I'm getting this right, you're totally focused in the pro league, focused in allowing this to be the best women's pro league in the world, and you're not going to branch out to different aspects. League One has said they're following the European model. I don't know what the European model is, quite honestly. What is your professional league model, so to speak?
Well, we are our primary and specific focus is on creating a world-class women's professional volleyball league. Now, will we along the ways, do we have some other objectives? Yeah, we have objectives. We have objectives to make these women, put them in a position to make a good living as American pro athletes. We have a mission to be have positive impact on the sport and on each community in which we serve. Somebody once said to us about, if we're doing our job right, we're making money, having fun, and doing some good. And we certainly want to do all of those things. But we're here for these players. And we started by surrounding ourselves with women who know way more about volleyball than we do. And what we've tried to do is bring our relationships and our expertise in to build this pro sport into its up to its tremendous potential. And I would kind of frame one of my answers with a question back to the two of you is, if there's a pro vision, if there's a vision from youth for youth, there's this funding objective. I would ask you, on the pro side, how do you think it's working out for League One? I mean, what's your impression? At this point, we've tried to relay since last Thanksgiving when we announced specifics. You go on provolleyball.com, you'll read 40, 50 some releases about specific cities, specific coaches, specific arenas, players being signed to specific teams. I think you have a sense for how it's going for Pro Volleyball Federation. How do you think it's going for League One?
Well, I have some opinions on that, but that's why we wanted to have League One on, because I attended 2 events this last year. I attended the USAV All-American banquet that they host each year, and League One was a big sponsor banner there. I attended the University of Texas celebration for 4 national championships, bringing all 4 teams back, and League One had a $10,000 table there. I was confused by that because I'm not sure what they're trying to identify with, or if they're just throwing money around, or where they're going. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to know about what they're doing. I'm more concerned, and I think Bob and I both have been more concerned with the development of the teams. We think the next level for volleyball in this country is a pro league that's absolutely the best in the world, that draws the best players. We think our young players in this country will learn from seeing that level of competition, the next level above the national team. We only get to see next level above our collegiate teams. We only get to see our national team really once every 4 years.
Right.
I know Volleyball World has come in and they've tried to do the television, but nobody seems to be watching right now, and that's unfortunate.
But they are off to a great start. I will say their broadcasts are high quality, and they are bringing the next level of volleyball to those who are interested. I just view it like this, Coach. I view it that it's our job not only to make sure that the existing volleyball fan base is aware of where to see our telecasts and our streaming.
Sorry,
but also
we gotta look.
Convert the unconverted, and I really like our chances to be able to do that. In that we have a sport that is compelling. Every point, is competed for. Morgan Hentz said it great some time ago. I guess whoever was missing is now up here in Ohio. Yeah. Morgan said it very well, Morgan Hentz, in saying the thing that's better about women's volleyball at a high level than almost any other sport you can compare it to is something cool happens every point. And there are very few sports that you can say that about. The other thing is there is no other team sport wherein the women's version is in no way, shape, or form taking a backseat to the men's version. There's never going to be a WNFL, and the other sports that are viewed, like the WNBA, with all due respect, women's soccer, women's hockey. By and large, if you went and talked to people and you polled people, they would view the women's versions as somehow lesser than the men's version. We don't view it that way. We didn't need to put women or female in the name of our league. We've got the premier pro volleyball league, we think, ultimately in the world. But starting out, we've got one that we think can stand up and compete with any sports or entertainment product that's out there, whether it's in the arena or on television.
Well, Dave, getting back to the point that Mick was making, I think you've really clarified this. For me, your focus is at the top, the highest level. Make it the best you could possibly make it. Make it as good as NBA, as good as NFL, and you're trying to do that with volleyball.
We have the athletes to do it. We have the assets to do it. And, let's talk about the way you do it. The way you do it is certainly by attracting the very best, no doubt. And this Pro Volleyball Federation is not a niche league. We've been involved with a lot of niche leagues, and a lot of them are really cool. That's not what this is. This is not a minor league. We've been involved in minor leagues, and some of them provide great entertainment. This is attracting the best volleyball players in the country and some from around the world, and we'll loosen up those restrictions. At first, we're only going to have 2 international players because we want to create as many opportunities for our Americans who have had to travel the world to pursue pro careers. We'll loosen that up when we get to 14, 16 teams and more. But for right now, we are attracting the best players, and what we know how to do, whether it was in niche leagues or minor leagues and now in Pro Volleyball Federation, is create opportunities for people, the unconverted, to care about these athletes. And let me tell you, when you look into the backgrounds, the struggles, the stories, the lifestyles, the training of America's greatest volleyball players, they're easy to care about, even for people who haven't been thinking about volleyball.
Well, that's true. I think that you're going to see a lot of those stories, and that's going to give a little bit more than just the sport itself for people that are just starting to learn about volleyball to be interested in the game. They're going to get interested in the players, and they're going to follow the players.
Specifically correct. That's 100% on point.
So
Dave,
one of our concerns, Mick, with League One, and why we wanted to have them on, was this 3-pronged approach. We wanted them to answer the question about the fundraising. And hey, it's great that they've raised $57 million or $65 million, whatever it really is. We wanted them to tell us that, and what are they using that for? Is that going to be for the pro team? Is that going to be for funding special events like they seem to be doing? Or is it going to help fund, the junior clubs that they're supposedly attached to? But there's other things that came out. We wanted them to talk about that. We've heard rumor, and it's just been rumor, that they've been trying to get their clubs sold to 3-step, 2 times already in the last year. We've, again, by some people that have, offered information to us, telling us that, some of the club dues have almost doubled. And we want to give them the opportunity to say, no, that hasn't happened, or that might be happening because we're going to give this much more value to what they're doing, and we're giving these services. But you guys are focused on just one thing, and that's pro volleyball. And I think that laser focus is going to really make a difference in moving forward at the speed you're trying to progress right now. And that's my opinion.
And, it's true. That is our focus. We're not subscribing to the prep to pro pipeline philosophy. It's not a model that makes sense to us. It's not a model that we agree with. If that's the model they want to pursue, that's their prerogative. But ours is to combine the requisites of success really in any business. And those include the following things. Economic model that is viable, both at the team levels and at the league level. And I can tell you that Stephen Evans and myself, Jen Spiker, many of the people that are on the business side, both at the league and team level, know the difference between a viable model and one that is not. I mean, we can tell by reading them whether or not they make sense and are viable. But if you can check that box, and it remains to be seen, not just with League One, but other athletic organizations that are out there, that if they can even check that box, we go in knowing we can. But if you can check that box, then you have to have funding. Our funding is, we've got many, many, many more millions of dollars than what has been reported recently from an organization that wants to talk about their pro volleyball plans. We have commitments that are many, many, many times greater than that. They come from well-funded, well-experienced business people who are making an active, not passive investment into specifically pro volleyball. And they're doing it because we can check the other boxes. We've got viable models. Now we have funding. The other things you need to have is specific management expertise. We bring, between the teams and our league office, hundreds of years of specific sports-related management expertise to this thing. And then also, it's time to get the job done. We have been working on this for a couple of years now, and we have created a group of founding partners that are not just team owners, are not just league investors, active league investors, but also include broadcast partners that we'll be announcing, other sponsors and strategic partners, and the great staff that we've brought on. We've got a core of people, and you can go to provolleyball.com and learn about them with all the different announcements that have been made over recent months. We have all the boxes checked. And if you don't have one of them checked, you're not going to make it.
You know, Bob, if I can jump in again, Dave, we're all in favor of all of this. One of our concerns has been the youth development, though. The reason we wanted to talk to League One is that they were, I think, purporting that they were going to be able to lower dues for young kids to play. And we're all in favor of that. We think the model is going the wrong direction. It's going only to kind of an eliteness. We can't have the best volleyball pro league in the world if we can have every kid having a chance to play our sport and for a reasonable amount of money. I think the $1,500 a year model is kind of the model we think works for not only basketball, but volleyball, and every family can afford to have a child there. But in not being able to do that with League One, do you see the pro league in any way having an effect where it would help have us allow us to have every youngster in the country have a chance to play volleyball, not just women, but boys also?
Boys as well, yeah. Well, first of all, the three of us are at a certain age where we can remember that when we were young guys, we played every sport, didn't we? We played football,
sure
basketball, baseball. We ran track. They didn't offer volleyball in Detroit where I grew up, but, you know, we played it all. And then maybe as a senior in high school, maybe you would bag a couple of the sports you were playing and just focus on the one that you thought was going to give you a college varsity opportunity, right? Isn't that the way it was for us?
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Now, and for quite a good many years now, parents and children are making these decisions when they're 10, 11, 12, because they're hoping like hell that their kid, boy or girl, is going to have a high school varsity opportunity. And that's one of the reasons why volleyball has skyrocketed. So many more girls and boys are getting involved in it. But it's the same reason why ice hockey is being played in Texas, why lacrosse has grown so much, because all of these parents still have that, albeit many times unreasonable, dream that their kid is going to play, you know, have a college opportunity and get that scholarship and become a pro, and all the things that less than 1% of the population get to do. My point in bringing that up is there's one way, and I will say this: the sport of volleyball, of youth volleyball, I said it last time I was on this show, does not need Pro Volleyball Federation. They may not be perfect, they may not be without their challenges and problems, but youth volleyball is doing pretty damn well, especially for the girls. And they don't need Pro Volleyball Federation's help. What we can do to help, I think, is we can continue to be a reflector of the great light that is shining, that is, in this case, women's volleyball. It's finally being appreciated for the great sport, and the athletes are being appreciated for the awesome athletes that they are. And there's no denying it. The games are fun to watch. So by presenting more of those at an even higher level, we're going to make, I'm sure, more boys and girls want to get involved. I do think we do have a responsibility, not only to these women, to give them a league that's worthy of their best effort, and to these kids who will aspire to it, but we do have a responsibility to our communities to make the game as accessible as we can make it to young people. But I think the more popular we make the game, the more kids are going to want to play it.
Will any of your teams be training at facilities used by juniors? I know your venues for playing the matches are outstanding, but I haven't heard where the teams are training, and many times even in NBA, they trained at USC when I was there. They trained at smaller gyms around the country, depending on where they were. Do you access youth with your training in any way, or will you?
That's a great question. And we certainly, most of our teams, certainly in year one, will be, their training headquarters will be at existing, youth and junior volleyball facilities. There's really good reasons for that. One is that our players and our teams, practice in the morning and, during the earlier portion of the day when those facilities are essentially dark, and the kids come in traditionally after school, right? So it works out in that regard. In some cases, we're having to build locker rooms in some of those facilities to make them work for a pro team. And I think it's only a matter of time before many, if not all, of our teams will have their own training facilities. But in year one, certainly we're working with a lot of youth clubs. I do believe, and I apologize to our friends with the Grand Rapids Rise that I can't, off the top of my head, quote the facility that they're partnering with, but they've got an arrangement that's comprehensive. It's not just about providing training headquarters for the Grand Rapids Rise, but Coach George and her staff are also, and the players are going to be involved in helping to contribute to the overall experience of the players, the youth players there. So those things are going to happen organically. We're not trying to be, from cradle to the grave answer for every volleyball player that ever lives. But what we are trying to do is create a pro volleyball league that is worthy of these kids' aspirations and respect.
All right, Dave. Well, it sounds like you're going to have some connection with local clubs and lessons and clinics.
There's really no way we can't, Bob. There's really no way we can't, because we'll reach out to all of them to try and get them involved in coming to our games. Certainly, we won't be the first or only sport that attracts youth teams to their events, and we'll do those things, and we'll also be involved in our community. We always have been, we always will be with every event we've ever done. So there's really no way you can't be involved. But we're not trying to get into that business. And you mentioned some of the challenges associated with League One's entry into that. I can't speak to it. All I know is what I've heard, and I've heard some of the same things you've heard. But I guess I would ask you, how do you think it's going? How do you think their youth mission is going right now?
Well, I'm not sure. And that was the reason why we wanted them on, because I didn't want to be forming an opinion based on, hearsay and rumor.
Right.
Though we have some we believe some concrete things where we saw what a club was charging the year before they were involved with League One, and then the year after they were involved in League One, their fees went up quite a bit higher, and we were wondering why. And that we're not going to get that answer. But I know that Mick has a lot of questions, and some of which you've asked already about the specifics of the PVF. For example, when is the league actually going to start? And,
yeah, we will start. I wonder, I don't have it right in front of me here. I thought I brought it in with me, but right after this meeting, I get on to one where we're finalizing the draft schedule that we're going to share with our team owner and management either later this evening or tomorrow morning. And we'll announce that schedule sometime this month. One thing we've learned, and Stephen and I have been involved in the creation of a lot of schedules for a lot of seasons, for a lot of sports and a lot of leagues over the last 25 years. And the one thing you know about the first draft of a schedule, and anyone who's ever done one knows this, is that is specifically not the schedule you will have, because there will be some tweaks and adjustments that will have to happen. And we know that. But we'll have a schedule announced very soon, and we will launch league play in the last weekend of January. We've always said the 1st of February. It's actually going to be a couple days sooner than that. And that schedule will be announced very soon. Oh, and we play through mid-May. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
And
the end date's
it's,
gonna be
again,
mid-May.
just to repeat, I know we talked about this. It's a 16-week season wherein 24 games are played per team. Each team has 12 home games, 12 road games. And the other really great thing is each team, you know, when we get to 14 teams, get to 16 teams, which we probably will in time for the 2025 season. When we get there, we'll start breaking them up into more travel-friendly, divisions or conferences or whatever we'll call them. But in year one, you know, with the number of teams we're playing with, which is 7 in year one, this allows us in a 24-game, 16-week season to have each team play the other twice at home and twice on the road. And in that way, it's kind of an even-Steven deal. And it's also one that will create some natural rivalries and some really exciting matches.
So we have a listener that's written in that has a question I think is pertinent. Maybe so. Let me just throw it at you, and if you can't answer, it's okay. But what are your thoughts on the Premier Lacrosse League? And do you take anything positive or negative from their success or successful targeting of niche sports market? And the second part of that question was, how crucial do you feel getting a TV deal for PBF in being successful in getting that deal? How crucial is that to your success?
My father was an attorney for many years, and as a teenager, I got to watch my father argue cases in the 9th District Court of Appeals as a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid. And once in a while, I would hear him say to a judge when asked a question that he didn't really know the answer to, he said, I have to plead ignorance on this one. I can't really speak intelligently to what the Premier Lacrosse League has going on. I do catch them from time to time while channel surfing, and I think lacrosse is obviously a great example of a sport that has really blossomed in popularity, largely for the reasons that I think we spoke about a few minutes ago. What I can tell you associated with television, we obviously know that both local and national television and international streaming is critical to the success of our endeavor, especially as it relates to converting the unconverted. You know, try it yourself. I would say to everybody who views this podcast, try it yourself, especially if you're not a dyed-in-the-wool volleyball fan. But if you already are, you already know. The more you watch women's volleyball at a high level, the more you want to watch it. I find myself on Monday night now. I'm a football guy. I've been involved in football my entire life, and that's many years, I can tell you. And, you know, I find myself scrolling off of Monday Night Football and over to the Big Ten Network and watching some really great action. And the more you watch it, the more you want to watch it. And so our telecasts, both for large audiences and for smaller local audiences, are the greatest advertising that we can have. And it's going to be the greatest selling point for people to start to care about our athletes and our events. We are working with well, let me put it this way. Every usual suspect that could be covering this type of live event, we're in conversations with Stephen and I, along with our agency friends at Navigate. We will have 3 separate network games of the week, and we'll announce them when they're ready to go, and we're getting closer every single day. But we've learned over the years with different businesses that we've dealt with that you don't tease deals that you're negotiating. You get them done, and then you announce them. But we'll have 3 different national games of the week on different entities. I'm sure we're going to have, based on the interest that we have, a mature streaming partner as well that everybody recognizes.
So do I understand that that's a 3-tiered concept?
I'm saying that you'll see games of the week on numerous different national platforms presenting games of the week, not just one.
And you can't name who's got the contract yet.
You don't name them until until the announcements are written by both sides. But I can tell you, we already have commitments for some of them, and some of them are what I would refer to as the usual suspects. Some of them are based on the fact that this is a new frontier. This is a women's pro league that people can really get behind and can really care, and networks get that. Sponsors, a lot of them get that. And I think some people are going to be surprised at some of the addresses that we land on.
How many real teams do we have?
10.
Can you name them for us?
Well, we've announced, what have we announced? 7 of those, and the other 3 will be announced in the next few days. But you're aware of the ones that have been announced: Grand Rapids, Atlanta, Omaha, Columbus, San Diego, Orlando. I can tell you that we've already announced Dallas, which starts in the 25 season. And we have 2 others for 25 that we're going to announce. And in the next couple of days, we're just wrapping up a couple of, sometimes lawyers make these things take weeks longer than I'd like, but we've got one last one that we're announcing for 24 that will come out probably the day before our schedule comes out. But that schedule is well on its way, and that team is all 10 of them are closed, paid, papered, and ready to go. But for a couple of them, the announcements.
So you've told us.
Can I say something? I do want to say one thing.
Sure.
Because I'm not really here. I know that you guys didn't get to have the interview with League One today that you were hoping to have, and I appreciate that you reached out to us. And I can speak far more intelligently about Pro Volleyball Federation than I can about a league that hasn't made too many specific announcements. But one thing I can tell you, and I think it's important, that when we announce a team, whether it's the first league-generated announcement that simply says there's going to be a team in this market, here's who the owner is, here's when you can expect to get details about coach and players and venue and team name and all those things. We always provide material information. And then when we have that, you meet the owners, you meet the coaches, you see the venue, you see the new intellectual property, the name and logo and all those things. And if you go on provolleyball.com, you can see all the work that's gone into that. Each and every team that comes to Pro Volleyball Federation has made multi-million-dollar commitments to us, and millions of dollars have changed hands, and thousands upon thousands of pages have been executed. Whereas when you just say, we're going to play here, and you say nothing else, not a whole lot goes into that. And, that's the thing. I mean, if you're real, you've got real details.
So you've given us sites for the most part for 6 or 7 of these places, all top-notch sites. Mm-hmm. Your rosters have been interesting. You mentioned 4 or 5 elite players when you started. Yeah. We're still watching rosters. We see coaches, all quality coaches, it looks like, coming out. So one of the things that all the collegiate graduating players are looking at is the draft. What can you tell us about the draft? This is something new. Soccer's gone through this, women's basketball's gone through this, but volleyball's never gone through a draft. And from what I get from talking to some of the players around the country, they're pretty excited about the possibility. So how's this going to work?
I'm happy to tell you that, and it's really straightforward. And, the WNBA certainly went through a similar type of challenge 25 years ago when they were first getting started. You had, I can't tell you how many women basketball players were playing pro around the world, American pro women basketball players. But there were certainly a lot of veteran players. They just hadn't been playing in the States. Well, there's more than 300 American volleyball players, female volleyball players, that last season played in leagues around the world, and they're being signed as free agents to our teams. And so far, as of today, I want to make sure I get the number right, 81 of those players have been signed to Pro Volleyball Federation teams. Athletes Unlimited, who has their own model, not only for volleyball, but for lacrosse, women's lacrosse and softball and women's basketball, has been doing their thing for quite a while now and has established their event model. Well, they're getting ready to play right now. They have 44 players. 32 of them are under contract by Pro Volleyball Federation. So we're attracting the great ladies. But now we've got newly eligible college players that are going to go into a draft. Well, if you guys are following the rosters, you could see it's probably going to be pretty challenging for a rookie to make one of these teams. Now, when we have 12 teams, 16 teams, 24 teams, it'll be easier for a rookie to make a team, won't it? But right now it's going to be tough. So we've done a couple of things. One, we've allowed our teams to sign the veterans as free agents. And then there is a rookie draft that will take place right around the same time as the AVCA convention and Women's Division I national championships. We're going to do 5 rounds. Each team will have 5 picks. And we're also reserving some roster spots. We're going to have a 2-player, almost like practice squad. So if no rookies made your team, you can still have 2 on your roster. And these practice squad spots can only be filled with draft eligible players that season. And in this way, we make sure that some of our great young players are getting a shot at being on these rosters.
So,
Can,
Dave,
can non-seniors be drafted?
Yes.
I'm
All
sorry.
right, so non-seniors can be drafted. That was a good question. I didn't even think about that. I was immediately thinking about seniors.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have 8 teams for the 2024
It's
season,
7, Bob.
It's 7 right now, but it could be 8.
No, it's 7. And the reason it's 7, we made a strategic decision about 7, is this way in a 24-game season with 16 weeks, each can play the other twice at home and twice on the road. We've already got 3 teams committed for 25, which takes us to 10 as reported. And then, we'll add more. And by the time we have our first serve in late January, we'll cut off expansion for 25, and we'll be working on 26 at that point. Okay. But I expect it will be with no less than 14 teams based on the conversations we're in right now.
Okay. But for the 2024 or for this year's 2023 draft for year 24, you're going to have guaranteed 14 draft players on the rosters. Am I understanding that correctly?
Wouldn't it be 35, 7 times 5?
Oh, there's going to be 5. I thought there was only 2.
At Holy Cross Lutheran, there 7
5
times
rounds.
5 was 35. Yeah,
5 rounds.
5 complete rounds.
5
Okay.
rounds. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I thought you were only guaranteeing 2 practice spots, so I didn't understand that.
Right now, so up to 5 rookies can be picked per team, right? Okay. And then. I think chances are that all of those drafted players will, go to training camp, but at least 2 are going to be part of that roster because we guaranteed that, if you follow what I'm saying.
No, you've clarified it. That's great.
But international players will not be part of the draft because they're considered.
Well, they could be. A draft eligible international player could be, certainly. Do you understand what I mean?
No, explain that.
One that is a rookie to pro play, that has not played pro, whose eligibility is either concluded or they've opted to go into the draft. They could be drafted.
So that could be an international athlete that's playing collegiate volleyball here in the U.S. right now, for example.
That's an excellent example of what we're talking about. Yes, sir.
All right.
Even
so
though
really
they might have played on their national team for their country or in their pro league in their country.
Yeah, we've had so far, I think we have 17 players who have been with the USA national team. I'm looking at notes that Jen Spiker kindly provided me with here. But we also have other international players that are, affiliated and have played on their national teams as well.
So Dave, last question, because I know you have another meeting you have to get to here.
Oh, we've got time. Whatever you need to do. I'm happy to be here.
I mean, this has got to be something that you want to react to. I mean, it's pretty clear to me that you're going to have a pro league this year going into 2024. It's going to be a real full season. How does League One have the tagline, the only pro, I'm reading it now, only pro league to play a full season. I mean, you're playing from January to May. That's a pretty full season. And
Well,
you got, a full lineup of teams.
I'm not really, sure what you're talking about here, Coach, but let me see. If we look right here, I think it says that they're the first professional full season volleyball league is what somebody
I
said
missed
to
that
me.
first. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's the key word. I don't know how they got to be first. First to say that they were going to do it some years ago and then keep pushing back when they were actually going to do it. I can tell you that Rosie Spalding, who I heard speak at the NTDP last year, and Dr. Raynaud spoke, and also Cassidy Lickman for Athletes Unlimited spoke. I know that there were no questions taken or answered after that presentation by Love Volleyball, and apparently there's none being answered today. But what I can tell you is that at the American Volleyball Coaches Association convention last year, which, as all the volleyball fans know, coincides with the Division I Women's Volleyball National Championship, Rosie Spalding told Jen Spiker, we are squarely 2 years behind in our pro league, meaning behind Pro Volleyball Federation. So how they got to be first when they're saying they're not going to play for another year, is math that they didn't teach at Holy Cross Lutheran. I don't know how that works, but I can tell you that I'm not worried about who's first, who's this, who's that. I'm worried about being the best. And if somebody wants to compete, come on and compete, because we're here not only to compete with whoever wants to say they're playing pro volleyball, we're here to compete with every pro league and every other decision that people make to buy a ticket or to view something on television or to sponsor it. And we're ready to compete. I think you can see not only from the discussions that we've had, but for anything that you want to look at. And again, provolleyball.com will expose you to God knows how many different announcements, but they're all tangible things. They're real coaches. They're real venues. They're real intellectual property that teams have taken on that, takes time and expense to make happen. We're real pro volleyball, and that's what we're focused on.
Well, Dave, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on today and going over everything you covered about Pro Volleyball Federation. We're real excited about the league and wish you the best of luck as you move forward into the draft here.
Well, it's always fun talking to you, and I just do want to take a moment to say thank you to all of our founding partners, everyone who has stepped up because they believe in what we're doing and have become a team owner or have invested in this league, and everyone who has joined the staff. Some of these coaches, as you are well aware, have left great Division I coaching jobs to join our teams, and several Division I Power 5 current head coaches are reaching out to us about what's on the horizon. So we want to say thanks to everyone who has gotten us to this exciting point. And again, go to provolleyball.com to keep up with our announcements. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Well, Mick, when I win the lottery tonight, the
1.2 billion.
lottery, I'm going to be buying a team, all right, and making sure I make you a consultant, all right, in this first year of this new team that we're going to put together.
Oh, my. 1.2 billion.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so what did you get from all of that?
Well, I think that, I would love to see League One be successful. I mean, Athletes Unlimited, has been doing something for a couple of years. It's great, to see them being successful. They're so obviously two women's professional volleyball leagues can exist. Why not have three? It'd be great. I just wish we would get some clarity on what's going on with League One to at least give us some information and see what their vision is.
Well, certainly it would quell a lot of the rumors that are out there and the things that people, once somebody says something, it could be hearsay or whatever, and it goes like a wildfire through the forest. It's
Oh, I know that better than anyone.
yeah, yes, you do. And so I think in all fairness, especially to League One, I think being transparent would probably be to their advantage in a big way, because it just means more opportunities for more players to play if they're going to have a league. And I don't know if secrecy is the way to build trust and confidence or not. They may know exactly what they're doing, and I wish them the best. Certainly, the Pro Volleyball Federation has been certainly open. I mean, we've asked a couple of times for them to come on, ask for their opinions. They've always been helpful in that way. So, from our standpoint, I'm pretty sure that we feel excited for their success. And I think we're just volleyball people. I do think, though, Bob, that my one takeaway, and we couldn't have this discussion because it doesn't seem like Pro Volleyball Federation is doing a youth movement other than to invest in the youth in the communities, which they have teams to certainly get them in to watch the players, to support the league, and to have heroines, people they can grow up talking about, like we did with our baseball cards and our football cards and that sort of thing. But I think our youth model needs to be looked at. Maybe that's another show for us. When we looked at the cost, I mean, we're looking at some costs of some clubs in the Houston area as high as $7,000-8,000 a year, and for 10-year-olds, $4,000 a year. Families can't do that in a normal situation, and so I really think when I said the $1,500 model is the model for junior sports, I believe over the 9 months, if you could get in the gym twice a week, you don't travel all over the United States, but you play in tournaments on the weekends, local or in the community kind of thing. You have all of these things. That's a model that can be sustained by almost any family, or we can find funding to allow those kids to get in the gym and play and experience our sport. So that was one of my things that I really wanted to. When we first got into this, we got after 3-Step because they were buying so many clubs, paying as much as $7 million, we heard, for a club. And we know the money's in the events, but if they keep raising fees, then they're going to cost out a certain part of the population, and
Right.
volleyball is going to be like a tennis and
An
be an elitist kind of sport. And I don't think we want that. So we started looking at this all the way back there. Triple Crown was another organization that was running tournaments. We wondered where they were going. We found League One coming in, and we found Pro Volleyball Federation, and we followed through on that. Our job is to try to dig in and find out what's happening and how it's going to affect our sport, and how it's going to affect the kids and the people that play the sport. And we all love it so much. So I find having these folks on to be quite informative, and I wish everybody would come on and share what they're doing, because it would just help make our sport maybe the number one sport in the country.
There you go. Well, last thing we want to do on the show today is talk a little bit about, Dave had indicated we were going to, they're going to do their draft at the AVCA convention. So there's going to be a lot of new things happening at the AVCA convention. This will be the second year for our college transfer showcase. That basically is open to all college athletes that are looking to transfer, and junior college athletes that might be looking to transfer. It's a transfer event that last year had 117 coaches in attendance, and we're just starting to open up registration now, and we opened up last week, and advertising is just starting to go out. Hopefully, we'll have all our master coaches there, though some of them may be involved in the draft, so they might be in and out at different times. But we also secured housing for 50 athletes at the Barrymore Hotel Tampa Riverwalk, and that's at a greatly reduced price per room. And you can find out all this information on Master Coaches, volleyballmastercoaches.com. So I'd like to thank all our viewers for tuning in again, this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week.